Okay, we have 166 people. I'm admitting them now.
All right.
All right. Hey, everybody.
Wow.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hey. Wow.
Hey, Pablo. Can you hear me?
Hi, Shoshana.
Yeah.
Hi. There's also a video gamer thing on the screen. Did you notice that?
Who's that guy?
Are you a parent?
What?
No way. That's awesome. I thought you were my son.
I thought we were all here to play video games.
I thought you were my
I
son.
totally thought.
That's awesome.
I think we've been doing enough video games this summer.
Uh-huh.
Speak for yourself.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like I've admitted everybody from the waiting room.
Welcome,
All right.
everyone.
Thank you. Wow, welcome. It looks like we're at 175 or 174 participants. Wow, this is great. Shall I begin with prayer? Or are we still at today?
Let's begin.
All right, I'm going to say a prayer called the gift of today to get us going. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Gracious God, thank you for the gift of today. Refresh me. Invite me to discover your presence in each person that I meet and every event that I encounter. Teach me when to speak and when to listen, when to ponder and when to share. In moments of challenge and decision, attune my heart to the whisperings of your wisdom. As I undertake ordinary and unnoticed tasks, gift me with simple joy. When my day goes well, may I rejoice. When it grows difficult, surprise me with new possibilities. And when life is overwhelming, call me to Sabbath and grace moments to restore your peace and harmony. May my living today reveal your goodness. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Bernadette. Welcome everyone to our second Parent Association sponsored town hall. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Trisha Kane-Yee, and I'm one of the co-chairs for the Parent Association this year. This is actually my second year in this role, although it does feel a little bit like the first and a tiny bit like hazing, but we're gonna get through it. So I have a fourth grader and a first grader this year, and this is my fifth year being part of our St. John community. I'll start off by saying how nice it is to see everyone here tonight and to express my thanks to Bernadette, Paul, and Jana, and to the administration for partnering with us to continue this town hall forum. And with that a little bit of background, it's my pleasure to introduce my newly appointed co-chair, Alan, who's joining us in the hot seat. So Alan, if you wanted to say a few words of intro.
Oh, sure. I'm gonna have to stop playing this video game for a second, but hi. I'm Alan, a lot of you know me, and I am very excited to be one of your PA chairs.
Thanks. So we have a couple of PA business announcements before we jump into the Q&A session, since we have you here as a bit of a captive audience. First, we want to encourage those in attendance to join the PA leadership. Every parent is automatically a member of the Parent Association, but we're looking for people to join the grade-specific leadership position. And it goes without saying that the roles this year are going to be different. And we really need your help in shaping what things are going to look like for supporting our amazing teachers and administration, and also serving our fellow parent community. We'll send around a sign-up link after the meeting with revised role descriptions that have been updated to be COVID modified. But please be on the lookout for that, and please do consider joining us. For those of you who've already signed up and are here tonight, we're so grateful for your time and support, and we'll be reaching out the next week or so with more information for kicking off the year. The second announcement is that we will continue to hold these town hall meetings with a to be determined frequency throughout the year. We're still firming up the details, but plan to incorporate a targeted department approach to these, meaning that we'll have one focused on primary, intermediate, and also the middle school. And those would include administration and department-specific faculty and specialists, so that we can hold events that are really geared towards specific questions and concerns for each of those respective age groups. This is still in the early planning stages, but we wanted to announce it here so that you were aware that those details will be forthcoming as soon as the logistics are firmed up. We aim to have the schedule carved out by early September, so you can get the dates locked into your calendar that align with your specific household needs, depending on what grades your kiddos are in. And the other purpose for mentioning this tonight is that we want everyone to be aware that we'll continue to bring you information in this Q&A virtual format throughout the year. And we hope that those will be continued to be well received by the parent community as the first one was. We're gonna switch gears here onto the main event. Once again, I will be your moderator for the event. So we'll quickly run through the brief overview of how the session will run. Based on the feedback we received from the first town hall, we're shortening this meeting a little bit. It's going to be about 45 minutes, as the hour that we spent last time felt a little too long for most parents. As before, we want to be respectful for everyone's time, so we'll ask our final question at the 40-minute mark and end sharply at 5:45. We're recording this town hall, and we'll post it along with a written FAQ of the highlights of what information was disseminated here, and we'll post that to our website. Priority is going to be given to the questions that were submitted through the online RSVP portal. However, the chat to host feature has been enabled, so you can ask any follow-up or new questions that you have. Time permitting, we'll incorporate those into the live session, but again, we want to make sure that we address those that were submitted through the RSVP portal first. And in the case that we're not able to answer all of the questions in the time allotted, we'll go ahead and circulate those answers in writing to the group after the meeting. There are two options for posting to chat to host. It's either to me or to Alan. Please post your comments or questions to Alan, as he's been tasked by taking care of the monitoring that feed, and we'll be organizing those questions or comments based on theme and then forwarding it to the panel throughout the event. A few additional guidelines just really quickly. I know you all read my email very, very detailed, but just in case you didn't, the information being shared tonight is current as of today. Nothing discussed is carved in stone. The situation is fluid, but if anything does change from tonight, we will circulate information updated through Newsviews or through your classroom reps, so that you understand that there's been a change. The submitted questions were wide-ranging. Understandably, everybody has different situations going on, but there were themes identified, so we did consolidate to hope that we can give the most information in the time allotted, and hopefully your questions will be answered. Some of the more specific questions will be answered through your classrooms, but Pablo and Bernadette will discuss that a little bit. This is an informal discussion, so feel free to raise your hand with chats and things like that, and we'll answer questions as they come up. Most of the town hall tonight is going to be directed towards the virtual start. Understandably, there were a lot of questions about, what's going to happen when we return to school. What are the logistics of that? And we're committed to giving you that information. We'll touch based on some highlights, but as we move towards a return to school, if that's possible, we will definitely be hosting another town hall geared specifically to that. And then finally, to our preschool parents, hopefully everyone saw the note that we sent out that because you're dealing with an in-person return, we're going to host a more targeted town hall just specifically for your group to answer all your questions, along with the correspondence you're going to be getting from leadership. So we won't likely have time to touch on those questions that you asked about the logistics for in-person return, but we will be doing that in the future, okay? But hopefully there'll be some more information here that'll be of use to you if you decided to join us. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and open up the question. So what we did was we put these into themes. So the first theme is going to focus on the remote learning plan and some of the questions that you asked for that. The second theme is going to touch on pods And there were a lot of questions concerning pod learning. The third is going to be how XBC is operating. And the fourth is going to deal with in-person returns. And then we had some kind of miscellaneous questions that we'll follow up with in the end. So that's to inform your chat. If you want to ask questions, it might be that we're going to answer your questions a little later on in the meeting, okay? So the first question that we wanted to pose was that many of the questions were related to the remote learning plan. So for Pablo and Bernadette and Jana, if you could please give us an overview of what the current plans are.
We looked very carefully at the surveys, both surveys. You completed the one in June and one more recently. And based on that, a lot of you called for, or most of you called for us to try and have a school day. And so we've created plans, and remember, they're going to be developmentally appropriate at each grade level. Some of the children will have a longer Zoom time, and others will have shorter Zoom times. But there is a school day for all our learners. The middle school will be following very much the middle school schedule. They'll begin and get into their their homerooms at a community, a prayer at the beginning at 8:45 and go through the day. Our younger learners will start off at 8:30. They're going to have focus in very much so in the primary and the intermediate with math, language arts and spelling, phonics, and reading. There will be small group and whole school group throughout the day. The learning specialists will also be involved. So we will have Mrs. McCarthy working with her small groups, Mrs. Ocampo and Ms. Gadidas working with their groups. The specific schedules, I can give you sort of an example of one if you wish, but for time, you are going to get them when you meet your teachers. All of you and all of our students, we're going to bring you all in. There will be a sign up. You'll meet your teacher during the day, the week of the 1st of September. We'll begin with Mass, and then those meetings will start. There will be 3 days. Primary department will have a day, the intermediate department will have a day, and middle school. You will collect new curriculum at that point, devices if you need them at that time, and sit and have a short meeting with the teacher during which the teacher will go through the Google Classroom in the primary and intermediate and Teams in the middle school, and give you the schedule for the day at that time. So, you know, they'll always start off with a general meeting, so like what they do in the primary departments, they're kind of their carpet time. It'll involve prayer, some religion, and following that, they will break into, there will be some specialist time for the elementary, for instance, during the week. They will have Spanish, they will have music, they will have art. Our middle school will have that as an elective. You will learn more about that on the Fridays. And then they will go into their reading block and their math block, which will, as I said, will be a general all-class instruction followed by small groups instructions. Does that help? Pablo, you want to add?
One of the areas that we realized was a need for you as parents was consolidating the information flow all into one place. So we're working with teachers to ensure that communication coming down to you as parents and the point of contact at home, that all be in one place, be it the Google Classroom or through Microsoft Teams. You will still get email communications with perhaps weekly newsletters, but we really want to consolidate information in one place for you so that it's easy to access.
And we also want to add that, for instance, both third grades, both second grades, the first grade, they will teach the same material so that if children are in, you know, you have a friend, your child has a friend in the other class, they're both getting exactly the same material, the same assignments, the same forms of assessment. throughout all of first grade. All of second grade will have the same, kindergarten will have the same, third grade, fourth grade, etc. In some of the grades, you may find, for instance, if I take the third grade as an example, Mrs. Edwards may teach all the math, and Mrs. Trawick may teach all of the reading, so that they are meeting all of those, both teachers are meeting all of those students.
Another reason for that approach is not only to utilize the unique talents that each teacher brings to a grade level, but in the event, if and when we're able to come back into the building and we're needing to break out into small cohorts, there'll be a familiarity of each teacher for every child in that grade level.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a bunch of follow-up questions. So how will attendance be taken for online instruction, and what would be the scenario if a child is not able to attend a live instruction due to a family conflict with work? How will the school handle that?
Attendance will be taken every day. This year, last year, you know, the way OSPI gave everybody a waiver. We were all, well, we did complete all our days, but there was a waiver. We did not necessarily have to complete all the hours. This year, we have to complete 1,000 hours of instruction, or 180 days, and we have to take attendance. We will be taking attendance every morning at that first block, at that class meeting, that community meeting, that group, that very first, like circle time, they used to call it. So the first class. If a person, basic instruction, we hope we can, we will have to have you all sign that we can actually do record, like we're recording now, record a lesson. So if a child misses a lesson, that recording will be available. We can keep it for a week, we cannot keep it for longer for backup space, etc.
So how about MAP testing and other national testing? How will assessments be done in the virtual environment?
Okay, good question, very good question. So we are going to bring in especially our kindergarten and our first grade, because first grade did not get a lot of kindergarten time. And we are going to bring them in the first week of school. We will assess one-on-one all of the kindergarten and all of the first grade. It's from second grade on, the students take MAP. So here's how that will happen. A proctor will open a Zoom link. The students will check into the link, and from there, the proctor will give the student the guidance. You will probably have to maybe help the very younger ones on this, to open the MAP testing. Then we would ask you to stand back and let the children take the test so we can evaluate the test, because MAP is always an online test. And we too, teachers, have to sort of stand back and not do the test for them. But in that way, so there will be a proctor with a group of students. We're training up teachers and assistants to be proctors during in-service and to teach the online. We took webinars on that.
The assessment is all browser-based and can be accessed from pretty much any device.
Yeah.
And we will only do math and reading versus the traditional 4 content areas that we typically test. And we're going to be doing this very early on in the month of September, as we want to establish a baseline and know where our students stand at the beginning of the year, based on truncated trimester 3 from last year, and figure out just where we are to start this second remote session.
Will uniforms be required for the remote learning plan?
No, but not pajama, no. But I do like the idea. I think the idea for the kindergarten, they are really excited about wearing their uniforms. I really think, as you in your homes, if you wish to require, we would love them in their t-shirts. I think it has a whole sense of equity across the board for our students. But we do want them out of bed, not in bed. Well, I was going to say out of pajamas, but anything goes as pajamas these days. So looking professional, they are students. They're coming to school. You need that sense. I think you need that sense of they are being at school.
So a couple of questions from the middle school. They're wondering if zero period is going to be available. And also, last spring, there was the idea that, the middle schoolers need to be responsible for monitoring their communications and their workload, but it didn't always go so well. And some of the parents were wondering if the parents could be included in the communications. And that may be a department specific question for the teachers, but, do you have any insight into what the feel is for that?
Yes, we will have a zero period, and the information on that will be coming soon. Once the teachers will hand out those schedules for the middle school. We have been talking about how to get the parents access into Microsoft, the Teams. One way, I suppose, of doing it is sitting with your child and getting your child's access, but I know that doesn't always work because they use their logins for so many other login areas that they log into. All the parents will be coming in and meeting with the teachers at that and the initial days and the middle school days, and we will discuss it by then how we can facilitate that with the parents, and then as meeting with the teachers, we'll figure that one out. Pablo, could you add to that? That's
so long as the information is current in your parent portal through PowerSchool, you are able to set up weekly or daily notifications to keep tabs on your child's progress and grades. So I encourage you to use that tool to set up a way to monitor progress. Ultimately, it involves a conversation too with the child and letting them know that you are involved on a daily basis with tracking their workload.
Can you talk a little bit about the different platforms that will be used across the departments for the live instruction, and also clarify if the live instruction is going to be primarily actual with the teacher live, or it's going to be video, or a combination?
I'm going to give Pablo the platforms. He knows more than I do. Well, I know it's Google K through 5, preschool actually through 5, and then Microsoft Teams in 6 through 8. There will be live every day. So there'll be the live opening and that sort of community gathering, prayer time, and when the day will be discussed. And there will be live instruction in math and reading and spelling every day. It may be abbreviated on the Friday, and there will also be some video and some direction to, for instance, I know grade 5 did a lot of their math through Zearn. I know many of the students use Achieve 3000, so they will be directed into these areas. Pablo, do you want to take on the platforms?
Well, I think we'll see all of the features that are getting rolled out into these new platforms, and you'll see a lot of the primary and intermediate in the Google Meets and Zoom, and then again in Teams for the middle school. And teachers have taken a lot of professional development over the summer to improve delivery of content using those tools.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of quality versus quantity, there were some comments and concerns about the fact that remote learning is just simply different than being in the classroom. And so this return to a style that's more like in classroom learning, are there being modifications to the schedule? And this might be grade specific again, but just to, understand that the kids aren't used to a full day remote, and, not as many things can be accomplished during that time.
Yes, it's very much, I saw emails going around among the teachers that we sent out on how you really focus in on what are the essential standards, and that the teachers are not to send out, for instance, and we got this from the Archdiocese too, don't hand out busy work. Do not ask the students to do stuff with, that they are not actually going to see back and evaluate and give formative assessment on. So today I noticed that teachers are focusing very much on establishing what those are, they have been, what those essential standards really are, so that it is quality and not just a lot of busy work. They're taking, you know, this is serious. We want to see the children grow. We really appreciated seeing their growth and their STAR, their learning by the end of last year. And we want to see that continue.
So in terms of start time, oh, sorry, go ahead, Pablo, finish that.
I just want to plug the remote learning plan on the website that we just put up there today. Take a look at that, and it explains a lot of these things that we're talking about, and you're going to get a lot more detail. It's right on the landing page of the school website.
Mm-hmm.
So will start times be the same for middle school and the rest of the school for remote learning, or is that going to stagger as well, like it was going to in the in-person?
Mm-hmm.
It's staggered a little because they needed to get in the 0 hour. And Pablo?
Yeah, we're accommodating the middle school for a 0 period of what is our accelerated math program.
Mm-hmm.
A typical middle school student would start their day at 8:45 with their homeroom class. And that's an opportunity for attendance, announcements, prayer, etc. And shortly thereafter, by 9 o'clock, they're into their first period class, rotating through a 5-period day with lunch schedule built in, a break. And in the K-5 level, an 8:30 start time with attendance, followed by their morning meeting. They're starting through their schedule, their academic day, recess time built in, lunch time built in. We tried to find a common lunch hour, K to 8, so to lessen the burden on families who have kids that cross over multiple departments. So you'll see, hopefully, a real unified schedule.
Mm-hmm.
There was a question surrounding if small groups could be accommodated for in-person learning while in the remote learning plan phase.
We will start that with as I said, bringing in the kindergarten and the first grade for assessment. And then our advice, we have to bring in, we will try to bring in primary, the first grade, the kindergarten, especially first, as we try to socialize those in small groups. We were also asked to consider small group, this is we being the Archdiocese and the principals, small groups of students with special needs. And they were focusing, actually the line on that one was anything like a second language, homelessness, but really, challenging learning needs that sort of can't be met at home. We will look at our assessments and see how we can continue, this will give us a great idea, an example of how we can meet these students. When we start with the assessments, see that flow of bringing in the students, and then maybe we can start bringing in small little groups. It's got to be just 4 plus a teacher, that'd be 5, that's what we're allowed. To socialize the kindergarten following that. We're looking at that method.
There was a lot of general questions about what is the sense of what the teachers are expecting from the parents, and what can the parents do to help facilitate the remote learning plan?
I think we put a whole section on that, on sort of what we call parent responsibilities, student responsibilities in that learning plan. That's up on the remote learning plan that's up on the website today. I think first, I think getting the students, as I said earlier, get them out of their pajamas and out of their bed, and establish that schedule as if it's a sort of a daily schedule. They are going to work. You may be going to a different place in your home to work. You are going to work. You're working from home. Everybody is working from home. And then also being their cheerleader. Just, very often, what I found with my grandchild during this, I am learning what they are learning. Oh, wow, I don't remember this math. I have a 3rd grader going, I didn't remember this. Let's go back, let's check. How do we do it? and just be there and work on it together if you're, to support your student as he or she is learning. I think these are important, as well as, we said, establishing a spot for them, establishing their work area. Pablo, you're a parent of young at-home learners, so.
Yeah, I echo what Bernadette said about establishing a schedule and a routine, and get them in the mindset now that this is going to be different than the spring. It's going to be a more intense academic day delivered remotely, and give yourself grace, and your family grace. This is going to be a great exercise in patience for all of us. And we're going to have to work together and collaborate and problem solve. And that's what makes St. John unique and what really is great about our community.
So I think we're going to switch gears here. I know there's a lot of questions coming in on the feed. And again, I want to remind you, if we don't get to all of them, we will take all of those questions and circulate a written document. Some of those will have just been answered by the posting of the remote learning plan. Yep.
Trish, if you don't mind, can we just go over just one more time before we leave this? Just one more time with the basic framework for a general schedule. I know it's different per grade. I know that age makes a big difference for this, but there were a bunch of latecomers, and I did get a bunch of questions just now for their specific grade, and I know we're not going to do that, but do you mind taking that one more time, Ms. O'Leary?
No, I don't. And here, I've just pulled up, for instance, a second grade schedule, which is rather kind of like the third and the first grade. So 8:30 to 8:45 is their morning meeting online. And then that's followed by music. And this is, I'm giving you kind of the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's either music, PE, or Spanish. And then there's a snack time and a break. At 10 o'clock, they are going into their core block. So it's a writing or a math, and it'll be online, kind of the teacher teaching direct instruction for about 15 minutes, and then the children doing some work. Teacher may stay, but they won't be doing a live instruction. Followed by another break, and then they'll move into the reading block with the specialist. So that would be a small group, and they'll be working again for a short, again, instruction online, working with the teacher, and then some time to do the work. Lunch or play, and then in the afternoon at 1 o'clock, so lunch is from 12 until 1, and at 1 o'clock, they're back for writing and math, or writing or math. She hasn't decided which one in there. At 1:40, a break, and then 2 o'clock, spelling and handwriting. So each time the teacher is coming back, like they do in class, delivering the instruction, and the children are getting to the work. The teacher may bring in a small group, a specialist may come in and work with the student, or the assistant may come in and work with the student, with a couple of students during that time. But that will give you an idea of how the day runs.
Will the teachers be in the actual classroom teaching, or are they going to be teaching remotely themselves?
Most of our teachers, I think, are setting up their classrooms and they are coming in. Not all will teach from the classroom.
Okay, and I'll remind everyone too, for people who did join late, it's a good point, Alan, we are recording this and we'll post it. So if there's anything that seems like got missed, you go ahead and rewatch the recording, and then we'll also have a printed FAQs of the highlights of what was asked. Okay, so another theme that was in the questions was the pod learning. And can you talk a little bit about accommodations for pod learning and rationale behind not assigning children to a specific teacher for a pod?
Well, we assign teachers into classrooms in June, May, June at that time, actually May. And those classrooms are built based on the strengths, the numbers in each classroom, the boys and girls, and the abilities and it's very, very carefully done. In order to accommodate online learning, and the fact that we may be coming in and breaking those classes again into 3 cohorts, we have established, and this will help any people who are inviting, any of you families who are inviting friends into your home too, to be with, and I wouldn't say, please don't invite too many and wear their masks. We really want to get back into the classroom as soon as possible. So that we're all, the 2nd grade, as I said, will be doing the same thing. All of the 3rd grade will be doing the same thing. All of the 4th, all of the 5th, until you get to the middle school where they do the, you have one teacher teaching both classes. And we're seeing some of that down in the intermediate as well, whereas one teacher is going to teach the reading, one teacher is going to teach the math. So that when they return, and even while they're at home and they're in these groups that you may be creating, they are all doing the same material. Does that help?
It does. I know when we were talking offline about this,
yeah,
there was a big component about equity as well.
There is
why
a big
you don't
component.
do this with school.
Yeah. There is a big component. We have been advised not to sort of regulate these pods, not to create these pods, the schools not to get involved, because everybody, there is a huge equity issue in that some families can't get into them, some families can. Some families are inviting people into their homes, other families are not. We cannot regulate kind of what is going on in your homes. The Archdiocese has asked us to step back from all of this, and it is an equity issue. My sister, my daughter, I should say, who is a teacher, is also dealing, and she feels so strongly, some people can do it, and some people can pay and others can't. I mean, it is a big issue. We are doing what we can to create a kind of a playing field in which, if you wish to invite another learner into your home in that same grade level, they will be learning the same material.
So moving on from that to XDC, in relation to the remote learning plan, can you update us on how XDC will operate during the remote learning plan period and who will be eligible for that?
XDC is opened immediately to our earliest learners, our preschoolers. We're opening because we have some of those children who come to the afternoon. We're opening for preschool. So we're opening XDC for preschool. From there, we are looking at, it's a staffing issue. We're looking to see if we can extend that any further. It's a place, where can we put them? Because we want to really start gearing up the class or the school for the return. So where can we put people if we bring in any more? Who will staff it? We are evaluating if we can bring in other students for extended day. We will let you know where we go with that. We would start with our youngest learners again.
Okay, so that segues nicely to our last topic we're probably going to be able to get to, which is to touch on the in-person learning plan, which is a future goal. So, there were a number of requests for specific information related to the in-person return. Can you please provide an overview as it stands now as to what the criteria will be and how the process will start for switching to an in-person/remote hybrid should that opportunity arise, and in particular address, what is the criteria that we need to meet to be eligible to open, and then how would you think that rollout would actually occur?
I can tell you, I think we put out last week about that dashboard, so we'll all be checking the decision tree, but there are 3 factors that have to be in place for us to return. And the data must show that we are below 75 infections per 100,000 residents in King County. So that's one. It must show all of these 3. It must be below or have stayed below that 75 for 2 consecutive weeks. And 3, at the same time, it must be in a decreasing trend. We must see a decreasing trend in the data. So for instance, what we've been told is if it goes 73, 72, 71, but then it pops up again up to 73, whoa, we got to start again now because it's not a decreasing trend. So all of those have to be in place. And in working with my, my colleagues here in the North Seattle Deanery area, we're sort of looking at, well, it's at 80 now, maybe by September 30th, we could see that there has been, you know, we could look at it again, we could evaluate, okay, now we've had 2 weeks of a decreasing trend, and it is, you know, the average is well below that 75, we say that 70. Now can we return? So if at we see that at September 30th, we would look to, that's a Wednesday, we'd look to opening in person for our youngest learners on that Monday, October, what would that be, the 5th? So that's kind of the way we are looking at those data. I find myself every Wednesday, that dashboard is updated, and I find myself getting in there very quickly, and taking a look at it. Where is it now? Where is it now? So that's it. We would start then bringing in, we'd take a look at maybe the K through 2. Let's see how we can bring them in and start all our screening or put our processes into place for them. And then as the numbers begin to continue to decrease, bring in the 4 and 5. It has to get way down before we can bring in the middle schoolers. So they will be learning remotely for a while.
Yeah. And I think, Tricia, I might just talk a little about the reopening task force and the foundation that's been laid and put down for our return to in-person. We started meeting right away after school released in June. Started at each department level by reviewing parent survey results and looking for ways that we could improve the distance learning plan. And from there shifted quickly into chasing the guidelines that were being put out for in-person instruction, measuring out the campus and figuring out ways that we could creatively get 520 kids into all of our buildings, physically distance, creating cohorts, exploring PPE equipment, learning about air ventilation, accessing available technologies to stream to remote learners that choose or would choose to stay home. So a lot of that work has already been done. That being said, the target sometimes moves on us and we have to go back and plan again. Where we originally were thinking we would be bringing everyone back, now we're looking at more of a slow rollout model. There is a method to our process here, and when we're ready to come back in person, we will share more details of that plan. I think what's on a lot of people's minds is the what happens if game, I like to call it, where many of your questions are centered around what happens if my child or someone in the class becomes positive. How does that play out? What does that look like? And what I can tell you from our experience this summer is every case is different in terms of how we deal with a potential case or a positive case, and how we trace the interactions, communicating with public health for guidance. We did have to practice on a micro level this summer in our extended daycare, where one of our employees checked into work and later in the day started feeling ill. And we followed all of the guidelines and procedures that were laid out for an opening of a daycare during COVID. And we were asked to temporarily close the program until we could confirm whether that person had tested negative or positive. And in the end, they tested negative and we were able to come back onto campus. So we have some experience, albeit on a small level, with playing this out. And so we know there is a playbook here that we can follow when we have to tackle this on a greater level.
Well, and to restate what you said too, you know, there will continue to be the option for families that don't want the possibility of maybe yo-yoing back and forth between coming back to school and then having a shutdown because of an exposure or something like that, or for other reasons for health to not come back. So that remote plan will stay in place even if there is a return to school. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we are at time. I'm so sorry, everyone, but we will circle back to answer all of your questions. Again, this will be posted. This will not be our only town hall. And we're looking forward to kicking off the year. And for the PA, we're committed to having avenues for the parent voices to be heard and concerns for us to come together. So again, sign up for PA leadership. And thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. And again, we'll post the video and the notes. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.